So now if I ask you to claim to do this over 7 years, I hope you can all do this. Or 6 years or whatever. Okay, because it's a very simple calculation. Any questions?
Why did you stop at year 7?
Because this is where, no, I can keep calculating this, but now you can see this number is greater than this number, so you switch. And I could, in principle, you know what, in principle I should have calculated these numbers as well, right? That's the only way you know in some sense. But I knew when you will switch, so I didn't calculate this. But if you calculate this, you'll see what the numbers are smaller. Okay, so let's do this. 90 divided by, what should you divide this 90 by? A little bit more, right? 9.5, very good. You divide 90 by 9.5 and what do you get? You get 9 point something, right? So actually the first year should be this, no I'm sorry, the first year should just be 5, right? Because it's 100 is the book value divided by 10 and half of that. So the next one here, so the book value will be, so we also have to have an updated book value based on straight line. Alright, I'm sorry. So now the book value was 90, so 90 divided by, now it will be 9.5. So it will be 9 point something, right?
90 divided by 9.5.
Yeah, 90 divided by 9.5. Okay, now you can do 72 divided by 8.5.
8.47.
Now you can do 57.6 divided by 7.5. 7 point?
16.
Now 46.28 divided by, what is it? 6.5, yeah.
7.1.
And then of course this divided by 6 point, oh sorry, what did we do?
5.
9.5, 8.5, 7.5, 6.5, 5.5, 4.5. So this is what 4.5,
Why is there a 5 up
and
there?
this is what this gives you, right?
Shouldn't there be not a 5 up
They're
there?
the same.
Huh?
Why is there a 5? Shouldn't that be greater than 9.47? The first term?
It is what it is. I mean, sorry, I don't understand. The 5 is because in year 1 you only claim half. So straight line, each year is 10, right?
Yeah.
But you claim half of that, that's why in year 1 you only claim 5.
So it's 9.5, 8.5, 7.5, 6.5. So next number is divided by 5.
Oh, 5.5, okay, so what is that?
5.26.
5 point? So you can see all of these are smaller than the corresponding depreciation. So this is where you switch because now this is larger than this. Right? And as I said, you can continue this table down still, but it doesn't matter. Once you have switched, you know, once you have switched, it will, yeah.
So we wouldn't actually be using a straight line body, you're just trying to show us why we switched.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. So you're not going to use any of these. So you're not going to use these. You're not going to use these. Right? The ones in block are the ones you're going to use. But like I'm saying, the only way you know is to calculate all of these. I kind of knew where I would switch, and that's why I just did that. But in principle, you should be calculating both of
So you're
them.
supposed to check, right?
Yeah, I'm supposed to check, yeah. Right, yeah, question?
The straight line values that you exit out, shouldn't they be the same number going down?
No, because the book value has to be continuously updated. Because you are claiming, because of that is, this remains same. Because this is straight line throughout. But this is the straight line updated. Because in the first few years, you already claimed high depreciation. So you have to update for that with a straight line, right? If you do straight line right from the beginning, yes, you do get 10 each year. But what you're doing is you're starting to take double declining. That means you depreciated more than the straight line would allow. Therefore, you compensate that by basically reducing the slope, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you solve for in advance whether if you were fine? Because
Sorry?
book finding is 2 over n times the book value,
Yeah.
whereas your straight line is
1 over n times the book value.
1 over n minus 1 if one number in terms of right down is a straight line value. Once you convert NXRF.
Right, but except that for double declining, because you're taking double declining it throughout, n is fixed. Right? So n is basically 10.
Right, I'm just saying like you could calculate this ahead of time without having to do this whole chart. Where you switch.
I think that's, let's see. So double declining is book value
It's 2 over n times
divided by n remaining, right?
Right.
And the straight line is book value, or 2 divided by n total, which is 10. right? So n remaining should be 5. So I think we are right that you know it's going to be one of those two, because there's a little bit trick here. So book value divided by n total, let's say. Let's just say n remaining. Actually, I think you're right. So maybe we can say n remaining plus 0.5, right?
Just for confusion's sake, that shouldn't be 5.36. Like it shouldn't go back up to 6.5. I calculated that to be 6.7 instead of 5.36. Yeah.
But I think this is a very good point. Actually, if you do this, you can see you can calculate this. This is a very good point. Without doing this calculation, you can actually calculate where the switch will occur. Because if you think about double declining is twice the book value divided by n total, which is 10, right? No, because it's 0.5 in the beginning, 0.5 in the end, right?
Arch swap is at 6.
Sorry?
Arch swap is at 6.
Yeah, so you will see why the swap is at 6, right? Because you cannot swap in the middle. So the correct way to for the straight line will be book value divided by n remaining plus 0.5. The 0.5 accounts for the last year, right? So now, therefore, if you see n remaining plus 0.5 should be equal to 5. Right? So n remaining should be 5.5. Yeah, 4.5. Sorry, 4.5.
No, it equals.
Equals 5, so n remaining equals to 4.5, right?
Yeah.
Which is where we actually switch. Yeah, very excellent point. That you can actually calculate this. So for 7 years now, you know what you would do. You would simply do book value divided by n remaining plus 0.5 again equals to book value twice divided by 7, right? And therefore n remaining will be 3, right? No, sorry. Yeah, so 3.5. Yeah, n remaining in this case will be 3, right? Which actually is very interesting, because that would also, it's an exact number, which means for that particular year, I think the two will be exactly equal. So anyways, yeah, it's good. Yeah, you can actually figure this out without even doing it. I mean, you still have to do all these calculations, but you didn't have to do this calculation. You would have already known that you should switch at this point in time. Make sense? Yes? All right, excellent. Okay, so now we know how to calculate depreciation correctly. Now the problem with calculating depreciation correctly is, now if you remember, if I give you this particular way of calculating depreciation to analyze profitability, you'll not be able to use your annuity formula, right? Because every year, your cash flow will be different, yeah.
So you said the NR is 4.5, but you don't switch at 4.5 years, right?
Well, you do, right? Because this is half a year,
Oh,
and
the
remaining, yeah.
Okay.
The 0.5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Got it.
Okay. All right, good. So, yeah, the problem with this approach is, I mean, there's really no problem, except that if I give it to you in a quiz or an exam, then you'll actually have to just make a table and calculate each number on its own, right? And you should be able to do it. But if I give it to you, I mean, of course, if I give it to you in a quiz where you don't have enough time, I will likely give you a straight line. In an exam, I will almost certainly test you on MSCRS. I may not ask you to use MSCRS in an actual problem where you have to calculate profitability of a plant, but I might just ask you, determine the MSCRS schedule for a 7-year lifetime or 6-year lifetime. Okay? One way or another, I will test you. I could also ask you, compare the NPV value of MSCRS with double declining. Like last time, if you remember, we compared double declining with straight line, right? And that was the only way we could figure out which one is better, right? Because in the beginning, we didn't know. I could do the same thing with MSCRS. Now you know that the net value of MSCRS will, of course, be better than both of those because we're using the higher of the two. But I could ask you how much better, right? So I could ask you a problem like that. So one way or another, yeah.
So, one of these to be better than the other one, what are we looking for?
NPV. NPV, or the net value of the depreciation, net value of savings. It's not a savings, right? Now this is depreciation, so how much will be savings? Let's say the tax rate is 30%.
30% of the.
30% of depreciation, right?
Plus the interest accrues.
And then you basically bring it back to the beginning or the end. So let's say it's over 10-year time, right? You figure out the depreciation from all three. From there you figure out the savings. You move all the savings to the last year, and then see which gives you the most, right? All right, good. Any questions? So where are we so far? So in this course, we're actually at a very good place because we've actually accomplished quite a lot. So remember, our goal in this course is to figure out which plant is worth building and which plant is not worth building, right? That was what our goal was. To get there, we said we have to do quite a few things. One is, we began by understanding the time value of money. And that was an extremely important concept because you cannot just add money from different years, right? So we had to understand, we had to create this framework. And I'm so happy to see that you all did well in quiz 1 because that means I think most of you get the concept, and that's really critical. So we spent a lot of time trying to understand the time value of money. We understood that. Then we said, okay, to analyze profitability, we have to do costing. So then we did costing, which was quiz 2. Then we said, okay, now that we know the cost, we have to figure out how do you put that cost along in the context of time value of money to figure out which one is profitable. And that's why we define calculating NPV, right, net present value, and also we can either calculate the NPV or we can calculate DCF ROR, right? Does that make sense to everybody? And to do that, we have to actually calculate cash flow year to year. To calculate cash flow, we have to understand this concept called depreciation. So that's sort of where we are. I think everything you've talked about is very tight. It fits in very nicely. Do you all feel like you understand everything I just said? Yes? Not just calculating it, but you actually have a very good picture of why everything we're doing. Make sense? Okay, so now I'm going to show you one more metric for calculating profitability. Now this is a metric